Hey everybody, Rock DIY here. What I've got here is a speaker. This is a speaker that goes in the back window of a 1997 Toyota Century V12, and you can see that the speaker is blown out all along the edge here, and it used to have a rounded piece that went all the way around, but the heat and age got to it, so it pretty much deteriorated. And if I were to buy this speaker, the same exact speaker, it would cost about $159, not including tax and shipping. So looked for some other options as far as repairing it, and came up with this kit. And this kit comes from Simply Speakers, and it's basically got instructions, a business card, a brush, and some glue. And then it comes with this piece, and this piece is going to replace what's missing here in order to make the speaker function. So I'm going to go through the steps on disassembling and putting this on. And of note, this kit is $24. So when I mentioned $159 and tax and shipping for a new speaker, this was a good alternative, although $24 for this foam piece, a brush, and glue is a little steep. I believe it was only like less than a year ago this was $20, now it's $24. It is a good alternative to replacing a speaker at full cost. So I'm going to walk through the steps on how to install this. Steps that I highly recommend, and I recommend it because if you look, see how this piece is sloped here? Everything has to go back in the same position. Doesn't go in the same position, you're going to have issues reinstalling it. So the best thing to do, you might be able to see it, might not. I marked it with a blue marker that goes from this piece to this piece to this piece. So when I go to put it back together, I just look for these lines to put it back together. Of course, you can use whatever you want. You can use something a little more visible to line it back up, but it is a good idea to mark it so that you put it back together the way it goes back together. The next thing to be done is remove the 4 Phillips or cross tip screws on the outside. Be cautious with any tools that you're using, because the last thing you want to do is go through doing this repair and damage this part of the speaker. These screws are underneath the foam, and unless you're replacing the foam, you want to be careful not to damage the foam. And the last screw. Alright, so those are out. Now this piece has to be removed. You do have to be careful with this piece because there is a glued foam piece underneath this plastic, between the plastic and the metal. You can attempt to lift it from the outside or from the inside. This tool that I'm using is actually a wood carving tool, but it works pretty good for sliding under there and giving it a little lift. Could be a little more aggressive if I had a stronger tool to lift up on it. This part just takes a little bit of patience, but as you go around and lift each time, it will get easier. Alright, now we're getting there. Definitely gonna have to speed this part up in the video because this is definitely not very exciting. Alright, there we go. I don't have this gasket because this gasket was actually attached to the piece that used to be here that deteriorated. And when you put this piece on, it's basically going to replace that anyway. Alright, so you're gonna have to clean all this out. I'll clean that out. I'm not gonna record all that, but all this will need to be cleaned out. It's always best when you're cleaning this out is not to go towards the speaker itself. Try to stay to that, going to the outside when you're scraping it. I didn't mention this previously, but there's a piece on the bottom right here that once you remove those top 4 screws, this piece right here will stay a little stuck to the bottom and may fall off. No big deal. You just take it and put it aside until you need it. And it's good to kind of get it out of the way because you're going to have to do a little bit of work if you want to clean some of the stuff off the bottom. You could leave this, the old one was attached on the underside rather than the top side. So this tool right here worked out kind of perfect to do this. It's kind of like shaped like a chisel in a way, but I was able to go all the way around and get most of the adhesive off. And this is everything that came off. Now I'm going to use some alcohol prep pads to go around and hopefully get some more off, but I might do some more scraping before I use the alcohol prep pads. There you go, most of the scraping done. Go over this with the alcohol prep pads. They're kind of small, but they do work. I already used 3 of them. Yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's anything bulky still on it. May or may not be able to see it, but see all this stuff sticking out right here, and that's the old piece that used to be on here, and it's very, very brittle, and you can just wipe it right off and you can really see it underneath. So what I'm going to do is go and try to knock off as much of this as possible, because what I'm afraid of is if I don't take it off, what's going to happen is pieces will break off and rattle on the speaker. So I'm going to take as much as I can off of it. I'm using this, and I'm just going to go around and scrape carefully. You can see, well, hopefully you can see it, but you can see how brittle it is. So I'll just keep doing that until I get the heavy stuff off. It's coming off pretty easy. The new piece is not going to be glued under here, but like I said, it's mainly just to prevent it becoming an issue when the speakers are playing. I thought this was going to be a little more difficult removing, but it's coming off pretty easily. It's all cleaned up. Got this all done. Got the edges done. The underside is cleaned off. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an alcohol prep pad just to go along the edge of the speaker, because I want to make sure it's good adhesion. The speaker's 27 years old, so it's got some buildup on it. And I'll let that completely dry. So this is the way the piece will go on, like this. And you want to center it best possible. And if you look at the screw holes around the edges, if you have this exact one, and if you basically cut those circles in half, you can get this centered pretty good. Now, as far as applying the glue, you got this tube of glue here, and there's a caution on it that says squeeze out the initial part. I don't know if they put something in the beginning that's not glue. You want to squeeze that out, and then you can start using the glue. Now, as far as applying the glue, even though this will be facing up, you want to flip it over and put your glue on this ring right here. Put the glue on and then use the brush to go, or you can use something like this to just go around, make sure it's on there good. So here's the glue. Squeezed a little bit out at the beginning, probably the temperature, but I haven't squeezed it yet, but it's kind of oozing out. So I might go ahead and run a bead around. That got sloppy real quick. It went from very thick to very thin. Didn't realize I had to squeeze that much out of the tube. Something really good to know. There is a precaution on here that says squeeze out the initial part of the tube before you start. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell you how much to squeeze out, so you may be able to see where I started, went around almost, well, over half, and then all of a sudden this was pretty thick all the way around, and then it just gushed out liquid. So be very cautious of that, because that's what just happened to me. Made a big mess. I'm gonna try this again. So now it's pretty liquidy, not solid like it was initially. You do want to make sure you get a nice even bead all the way around. I'm just going to use this to go around. I can already feel this solidifying, so I need to get this on quickly. It's the part where you need to make sure you get it centered. Alright, looks like I'm centered, so now what I've got to do is go around and press it down to get the top and the bottom to join. You want to give it some support underneath. The glue is just running down the sidewalls. This glue that's running down the side should not impact the speaker. Alright, so I'm going to keep going around to make sure that it's all sticking. Some spots keep coming back up. If you have something like this where the glue oozes out, don't attempt to clean it up. It'll be alright, just leave it like it is. Unfortunately, wherever it oozes out, that tends to be a spot that doesn't glue down properly because the glue is too thick to dry as fast as the rest of it. So you'll have to manipulate it a bit to get it to stay tacked down. One of the things you can do, because you have a lot of this left when you're done, is you actually can use this to put a coating all the way around this part on the foam, and it'll dry clear. It's in the instructions that you can do it. I don't know that whether I want to do it or if I should do it. No telling how it will turn out. The next step is to get this outside edge glued down. So what I'm going to do is lift this up, lift the edge up, and I'm going to start putting a bead. Keep an idea of how wide it is. Don't go crazy with the glue. You actually, I didn't do it, but you want to keep hold of it as you're going around. You just keep the glue nozzle underneath. It'll keep it up. Glue is down all the way around, and now it looks like since the glue is interacting with the foam is curling up. The foam will move around, so you do want to be careful. Just tab it straight down. Don't push in or out. Otherwise, you're going to bunch it up. You can always tell where you put too much glue because it tends not to want to hold. Alright, looks like the second go around kept it down better. So, there's that. There's the repair. I'm going to use the rest of the glue to apply to this, since I do have like 3/4 of a tube left. Apply it, use the brush, and see how it turns out. I don't want to do it right away because some of this stuff is still drying, and I don't want it to start getting screwed up if I put the other glue on right away. I am now applying the remainder of the glue onto this foam piece that was put on. The thicker you put it on, the better it goes on. Putting it on too thin, it gets very, very tacky. Little glue spiders or hairs all over the place. It's all the way around and didn't even use it all. Right now it doesn't even look that great. It's all bumpy and lumpy. All the gluing is done. Now the next step is going to be look for my reference mark, which is on there and on here. It's right there. So this is going to go under here, ready to go on right there. And then need this piece, which has the reference mark right there. So this is going to go right there. The new piece that I put on the foam is covering the screw hole. Shouldn't really be an issue. Okay, let me get this screw started. I'm not going to tighten it all the way down, just partially, because I want to make sure everything's lined up. Being a little stubborn initially. Alright, there we go. Everything's done. These 2 points right here, for reference specifically to this car, those 2 points right there are facing towards the back window, also the straight edge. There's a point of reference because there's a motor that sits right here for the motorized curtains, so good reference point for knowing where it goes. There's also this indent here, so a lot of points to help you make sure you put it where it's supposed to go. That is it. It is all put back together. This is all covered with the glue. It's one of the things they said that you can do with it. Hopefully it'll make it last longer by gluing the whole thing versus just leaving it plain, but leaving it plain could have possibly led to it lasting longer. Don't know for sure.